Are you planning a trip to Kenya? Watch this video to hear my full breakdown of a recent 10-day Kenya safari I just experienced to give you a sense of what your safari in this beautiful country can look like. Keep watching to hear more, but first, opening sequence. Hello wildlife watchers, welcome back for an all new Safari Insights video. My name is Jeff Heyer and I'm a safari travel advisor. I'm someone that can create for you a personalized itinerary in destinations like Kenya. If you're interested in going on safari, please reach out to me. You can kickstart the plan making process by filling out the safari inquiry form I have linked below. You can also scan this QR code right here on the screen. Find this form, fill it out, share with me who you are, where you're coming from, some basic travel preferences, send it my way and we'll start planning you your dream trip. If you're in the beginning stages of researching where you want to go, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to share with you my recent 10-day Kenya safari itinerary in northern and central Kenya. These are some of my favorite areas to explore in all of Africa. I absolutely love the game parks and conservancies I included in this trip. I really believe these locations are underrated. Although the Masai Mara and Amboseli might be more iconic destinations, these places are worth considering and are often overlooked. I love this itinerary because it's very multidimensional. It's not just about the wildlife. There's also a lot of cultural elements ingrained in it as well. A little bit of context about our trip. We traveled in late October and early November. This is kind of entering the rainy season. The rains were not too intense and definitely did not hinder our experience. Throughout our trip, we had some rain, shine, rain, shine. Honestly, we loved it because it kept the temperatures cool and it was a lot less busy out there in the parks. Kenya overall, we consider it as a year-round destination, and there's pros and cons no matter what time of year you visit. Many of the accommodations I'm going to be featuring in this video are in the luxury category. If you're looking for something more entry-level and mid-range for your Kenya safari, there's still a version of this itinerary you can go on, which visits a lot of these locations in that budget range. Joining me on this trip was my assistant Shelly, who you've seen in several safari videos here on the channel. Also with us was Alex, our team's photographer, a creative collaborator. It was so fun to have her along for this journey because this was her first safari ever. It was great to have a fresh first-timer's perspective with us. And then periodically my colleague Paul joined us, so we were a full safari squad. And then we experienced a variety of guides that were provided for us at the different lodges. So a lot of players involved in this epic safari trip. Each one of them made this trip what it was. So if you're interested to hear about our trip, keep watching. Let's start breaking it down with day one. Our trip began in Nairobi, where we landed from our international flights and had a relaxed first day just to settle in, adjust to the time zone, and get our bearings. We checked into the Tamarind Tree Hotel, which would be our base camp in Nairobi. It's one of my go-to recommendations for travelers because it's super comfortable, the food is great, and the location is unbeatable. You're close to both the Wilson Airport and Jomo Kenyatta, so it's perfect for any direction you're heading next. When we first woke up in Nairobi, we made our first stop at the iconic Giraffe Center, which is such a fun and meaningful way to start a Kenya trip. Here, it's not just a tourist attraction, it's actually a conservation project focused on the endangered Rothschild giraffe. Here, they've had a very successful breeding program for this endangered species and have successfully rewilded these giraffes into national parks across Kenya. So it's a great way to get up close, learn about the conservation story, and support their mission. Every guest that visits the center will be given a bowl of pellets that they can freely feed the giraffes. Another popular place to visit during stopovers in Nairobi is the David Sheldrick's Elephant Orphanage. Although we didn't make it there on this exact trip, it's still an exciting place I want to mention in this video. It's worth checking out and a lot of people include it during their first full days in Nairobi. After our visit at the Giraffe Center, we went for lunch at Cultiva, one of my favorite spots in the city. It's a farm-to-table restaurant with fresh, locally sourced ingredients and really creative dishes. Highly recommend it. After exploring these features, we headed back to the Tamarind Tree Hotel and got a good night's rest before day two. The next morning, we transferred to the Wilson Airport, which was right near the hotel. This is Nairobi's regional airport, so a lot of the smaller charter flights that go throughout the country take off from here. And this is where we boarded our charter plane bound for Samburu. So as this itinerary is structured, we essentially flew north and slowly drove south all the way back to Nairobi. So we started with a small charter flight. Flying on these planes are an adventure in itself. The views out the windows are so scenic, and flying north saved a lot of driving time, a lot of transfer time, and allowed us to jump right into our next adventure. When we landed in Samburu, we were met by a guide and immediately began our first game drive through Samburu National Reserve. This was actually Alex's first safari ever. This was where her first wildlife sightings happened within minutes of landing. That excitement is something we'll never forget. Our road trip continued north to Namunyak Conservancy, where we checked into the Sarara Camp, our home for the next 3 nights. Sarara is one of those places that completely changes how you think about safari. It's not just about wildlife viewing here, it's a deeply cultural and community-driven experience. The Samburu people that are indigenous to this region are the majority stakeholders of this lodge, which makes it truly unique. The design blends seamlessly with the landscape, the hospitality is incredible, and the infinity pool carved right into the rock overlooks the valley, and this view is out of this world. Over the next few days, we did a mix of cultural and conservation-focused activities that make this place so special. One of the main highlights was visiting the Reteti Elephant Orphanage, which is one of the first community-owned elephant sanctuaries in Africa. We went for the 9 a.m. feeding session and learned about their milk to market program, where local Samburu women produce goat's milk that's then pasteurized and fed to the orphan elephants here. It's a perfect example of conservation empowering local communities. The staff, especially Naomi, who greeted us and toured us around the facilities, made the experience so personal, so much so that we decided to come back the following morning for the sunrise feeding. We just couldn't get enough of these baby elephants. This time we booked the extended behind the scenes experience where we walked alongside the elephants as they roamed freely after the feeding in the surrounding landscapes. We got to tour around the site and really get a behind the scenes look at how they operate this site. And at the end, we had this gorgeous picnic in the wild, which was one of the highlights of our trip. During our time at the Sarara camp, we did a beading workshop with Samburu women. They actually came to our camp and walked us through how to bead things like bracelets, anklets, and necklaces. And they were kind enough and generous enough to craft us these beautiful bracelets. I'm wearing one of them now, that we got to take home with us. Those were some of the cultural experiences we had at the Sarara camp. When it comes to wildlife and nature exploration, we did enjoy some game drives through the Conservancy. It was here we had sightings of reticulated giraffes, elephants, and incredible bird life. Every evening we ended with sundowners, often with a toast on the roof of the vehicle as the sun set over the mountains. One of our highlights was exchanging songs and stories between our guide Kevin and our tracker Lucky. We were sitting at the top of this vehicle just having a bunch of laughs. Definitely a special connective moment. The adventures didn't stop there. We even went on a horseback riding one afternoon. It started off gorgeous. We were spotting rainbows. The sun was golden, and then it ended with torrential downpour. We got absolutely drenched. But even though there was a surprise rainstorm, it just added to the adventure. Sarara embodies what ecotourism should be. It's about creativity, it's about connection, and conservation coming together. Our stay here was very transformative, and we have nothing but positive things to say about our time in Sarara. Wildlife is not necessarily the focus at this camp or in Namunyak. If you're looking for a deep cultural experience, something that will engage your mind, body, and spirit, Sarara is the place for you. I just want to emphasize that there are so many experiences you can have while at the Sarara camps. We did not get to experience them all. We did as much as we could, but there was still so much we could have done. There are nature walks, there are village visits, there are helicopter rides. All this means is that we're going to have to go back. So that was days 2 through 4, and now on to day 5. After 3 unforgettable days in Namunyak Conservancy, we headed south to spend a night in Samburu National Game Reserve. And it's there we checked into the Soroy Larson's camp. Now, we only spent 1 night here because of our schedule and because we spent a few extra nights in Sarara, but for most client itineraries, I would recommend spending at least 2 nights here. That's because Samburu is one of the most wonderful places to go on safari. It's one of my personal favorites. It's a very special environment to immerse yourself in, and the wildlife is so unique. Samburu is famous for what's called the Samburu Special 5. These are species you won't see in southern Kenya, like the reticulated giraffe, the greve zebra, the Somali ostrich, the Beza oryx, and the gerenuk. So if you're really into unique wildlife species, you gotta check this place off your list. It's here we actually had one of the best game drives of our trip. In the morning, we encountered a pride of lions all to ourselves. They were walking right down the road towards us in golden light. It was the catwalk of all catwalks. We had an up-close view of every member of the pride, so special. Then afterwards, as if things couldn't get better, we saw a mama leopard and her 2 cubs. Now on to days 6 and 7, which took us to Lewa Wildlife Conservancy. We drove from Samburu to Lewa, which took about 3 hours drive. And once we arrived, we checked into the Lewa Safari Camp, which is part of the Eliwana collection. Lewa is best known for its black rhino sanctuary. If you know me, you know I have a soft spot for rhinos. That's why I was so excited to be here. This area used to be a cattle ranch that was converted into a protected wildlife area, and today it's a model for rhino conservation. They've had a very successful rhino breeding program here, and over time they've actually increased the population enough where they've been able to distribute these rhinos in other parts of Kenya. The landscape in Lewa was absolutely stunning. There were wide open plains, rolling hills, and fantastic photo opportunities everywhere you look. The camp itself where we stayed was luxurious, the rooms were elegant, the food was beautiful, and the pool actually had an interesting stone pattern that resembles giraffes, which was a very cool touch. One of my favorite moments from staying here was our bush breakfast out in the open savanna. There were giraffes walking in the distance, and it was just one of those serene moments that defines what safari magic really feels like. Now on to days 8 and 9. From Lewa, we continued south to Old Pejeta Conservancy, another place that's really close to my heart. This conservancy offers some of the most engaging, interactive experiences in Kenya. For example, you can sign up for the lion tracking experience, where you join a team of researchers as they locate collared lions on the conservancy. This is so unique because A, you're guaranteed a lion sighting, and B, you get to collect data on the pride you're observing, which helps the researchers collect all the data they need for their master database. Another unique activity is the anti-poaching canine meet and greet. This is where you go and meet the canine handlers and the canines themselves. This team is what helps protect the conservancy, safeguard it from poachers. The dogs are so impressive at what they do. They will actually demonstrate how they train them each day and how they can locate things like ammunition hidden in the bush. Another stop worth making at Old Pejeta is the Sweetwater's Chimpanzee Sanctuary. This is the only place in Kenya where you can find chimpanzees. This is a place where abandoned, abused, and orphaned chimpanzees from Western and Central Africa find refuge. It's here you'll find 29 chimpanzees that make up 2 different families. Although they are quite traumatized, it's beautiful that they've been able to reunite with their own kind, and they're given a second chance at life. Here at Old Pejeta, you can also pay a special visit to Najin and Fatu, the last 2 northern white rhinos on Earth. This is an emotional and deeply moving experience. And of course, you can always make time to see Baraka, who is a legend at Old Pejeta. He's a blind black rhino who serves as an ambassador for his species. He's in his own enclosure and loves accepting visitors who come to feed him things like carrots and grass. Aside from these activities, the wildlife viewing here is phenomenal and the scenery is wide open. During our time here, we stayed at the Sanctuary Tambarare, a newer property that's modern, comfortable, and well located. I've been to Old Pejeta a few times. I've also stayed at places like the Jambo Mutara Camp, the Pelican House, and the Perini Rhino Camp. These are all fantastic options depending on your budget and travel style. Overall, I absolutely love Old Pejeta. I've said it 100 times in this video, but I'll say it again. It's such a special place. It's a place where you can spot the Big Five. Its landscapes are stunning. It's a photography haven. Definitely worth considering as part of your Kenya trip. Now on to day 10. On our final day, we simply drove back to Nairobi. It was a pretty smooth transfer, about a 4 hours drive south. On our way, we made a fun stop at the equator line where we had 1 foot standing on each hemisphere. We also made a few stops at some gift shops where there's just souvenirs galore. Once we arrived back in the hustle and bustle of the city, we returned to the Tamarind Tree Hotel where we started our journey for one last night to rest and recharge before the next part of our Kenya trip. And that's a wrap on this 10-day itinerary covering central and northern Kenya. This is a route I absolutely love for travelers who want a mix of wildlife, cultural immersion, and meaningful, sustainable travel experiences. If this inspired you and you're thinking of planning a safari like this, or maybe customizing one similar to it, I'd love to help. Please reach out to me to inquire about your safari adventure. Again, you can find my inquiry form linked below, or you can scan this QR code. Stay tuned because this was just the northern and central Kenya section. The next video I'll be sharing will pick up for the second half of our Master Kenya adventure. This next itinerary on Kenya I'll be covering is going to be all about the southern destinations, some spots like Amboseli and the Masai Mara. If those places interest you, you won't want to miss it. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate you supporting my content. I'll see you next time.